It's quite some names. So let's move on to
that's on 3 tracks on the record.
On the new record, yeah. You know, we both have had the Tom Stenback experience, which was for me a huge experience. But could you share a little bit of what you think is like the best feature of this beautiful instrument?
Yeah. If I say the best, I think the thing that strikes me the most, or the thing that struck me the most when I initially started playing instruments by Tom, even though I didn't necessarily gravitate to the first one, but I kind of knew there was definitely something that was there for me to explore, and I kind of felt, and I think Tom felt as well, that he knew what it was that I was kind of going to be looking for. But it was the responsiveness of the instrument. It was the dynamic of it that spoke really well, and it just felt like a real instrument. And by that, I don't mean to be disrespectful to many other great instruments, but I've been playing vintage Fenders for so long that I kind of feel like I've been spoilt with the resonance and the dynamic and the response that you get back from a really great instrument. That I became quite turned off by instruments that didn't have that straight away, and would just kind of think, it sounds like I'm playing the pickup rather than playing the bass, or or it sounded too hard, and people would be looking, or you'd have to kind of sculpt too much with the EQ, onboard EQ, which is another issue altogether, and then or the amp board. I just kind of felt like it wasn't coming from the bass enough with many new instruments, and that's what I definitely felt that had in spades. It really had loads of that. So there was the dynamic, but also the feel. They feel so nice. The neck feels beautiful. If you play it, and if you play a vintage instrument, the radius of the fingerboard feels nice and natural as well. It may be too rounded for some, but I think a Fender player would find that quite immediately comforting, and comfortable for them. And then just the spacing, being traditional kind of 4-string spacing, that feels comfortable without the left hand feeling like it's too wide and too extreme. It's still tapered, so it feels good at that end. And it just feels right, and I like the way it responds. It just feels very comfortable, and there's something that is immediate about it, or about them. I've even found that I've had this bass for not even, it will be 3 days almost, and it felt great straight away. And that one has just hardly been out of my hand since I got it.
Last year,
I didn't even expect, almost to the day. I didn't even expect it to be so immediate, and I still expected it to be something where I would think, I'm not going to use the 4, I'll use the 5 on this, but still keep gravitating to my vintage jazz, which is an amazingly special bass. And I still have that and love that bass. That bass will be with me till I die, and I'm still going back and playing it a little bit, but I've hardly done anything on it since I've had that.
That's a great compliment.
And also the people who love my jazz bass, from the front of house engineer with Jamiroquai to Matt when we've been recording the album, to guys who've done front of house, or I've been doing a soul singer called doing the work with a guy called Sean Escoffrey, who's a kind of very old school R&B soul singer, and I was just playing either P bass or jazz bass on that. It's kind of a Marvin Gaye-esque kind of thing, and I used that on it, and the engineer was like, "That sounds incredible. That bass just sounds great. It's got all that stuff that I love about your Fender, but it's there. It just sounds really even." And I think the radius. I have this thing where I push the pole pieces on my jazz basses, and it can be a bit scary on a vintage instrument because you don't want to break the winding of the pickup. But Tom does that anyway. So even like I don't really like compression. You don't really need a compressor on that. And I just think it's just got all those little nuances down to a T without lots of bells and whistles, because I'm not into having lots of extreme stuff on the bass, really. I generally just like something that I feel is going to give me the headroom and the dynamic that I want, and enough variety for the sounds that I'm looking for, and that's it. I don't want to have particularly extreme EQ on there. I think that often hits the front end of the amp or the DI box or the desk in the wrong way anyway. And it may sound great in the shop or in your room practicing, but it doesn't necessarily work on a big stage. It doesn't work so well in a mix. And that's why those classic instruments are still so sought after on records and still sound great on a big stage.
Yeah, I heard this bass the same day as you got it last year, where you were playing for the after party of London Bass Guitar Show 2016, and it was like I was so amazed on how clear it was, not without being sterile, but just really focused, and you can like hear every note.
You hear the note, but it's not like one of those mid-heavy bumps where you just kind of hear like a, it's got a bloom to it, and you can hear the spread of the note, and that's it. That is exactly what I love, because I like the notes to be heard. I hate finishing any kind of gig. It's not in your hands always. Well, it's in your hands, but it's not always in your hands to be able to. Is that my mic still on? You're not always able to govern the front of house sound, but if you're not giving the front of house engineer a clear sound, then there's definitely nothing he can do with it. The hall may be bad, the PA may struggle, the acoustic in the hall may not be good, is what I mean. They can't do anything against that some of the time, but at least if you're giving a very clear sound, then they're going to get something good to work with. And I don't want to come off a stage and people go, that was fun, man. I couldn't really hear what you were doing, but it was, I want the notes to kind of come through. And fortunately, being in Jamiroquai and some of the other bands being in, it's kind of expected as well, and it's focused maybe a little bit around the bass. That's nice. You got a good job there. You have a good featured role in Jamiroquai. You definitely hit on the thing that this Stenback has, which is a clarity of the note while still sounding fat and still having that thing where it can bloom and sound nice exposed, but it can also fit in the mix really well.
So you got this last year, but this one 3 days ago, and my God, it looks close to my bass, basically. But there is something going on here. First of all, that's Fat Boys, or
these are they're Tom's spec of pickup. So I think they're Lundgren.
Oh yeah, Lundgren, of course.
And there's two. I think he's got an enamel and formoir in, so you get like a 60s and a 70s. 60s. The formoir is in the 60s position, ceramic in the 70s position. Then you can flick between the single, the parallel and series. So, you can go for that kind of series or basically having the parallel and series option can mean that you can do a little bit of the P-bassy kind of thing, or a little bit of the music man thing.
Oh, maybe you should play a little bit.
Well, I mean, in the single coil thing is would normally be my first kind of port of call. So for that kind of little kind of burpy thing, I'd usually roll a little bit off the front bit. That's it. Both together. So you can hear, it's got a really nice. There's just like there's a lot of responsiveness to it, which I really like. So that's the single coil thing. Then, I mean, I'm kind of getting used to what I'm going to favor with the settings. But immediately, just the other day, we were doing some things in rehearsal, and I found just by putting that into would be kind of the P-bassy kind of. So now, kind of, it's not a P-bass pickup clearly, but that's now in the humbucker mode, and it's in the series mode. So that's correct, isn't it? Series as in the P-bass style of it being. Or is that parallel? I can never remember which way around, but you can hear the difference between. In fact, if I just put just on, you can, rather than, you can hear that on the, that's kind of more. So if I go, you can hear that would be. You can hear that's kind of almost got that Music Man-y kind of higher. You can hear that there. Whereas if I go into this, you can hear it's more kind of P bassy.
Yeah.
And then you can obviously roll it.
Oh, man.
Maybe bring some of it in. Bring the tone down. You can hear how kind of responsive it is.
Just get the mic here, yes. There you go.
It's kind of got everywhere I go on it. That's what's nice about it. I can hear something that's kind of inspiring. So even if I do want to do that, that kind of Music Man-y kind of thing. Oops, sorry. Or the jazz bass thing, and kind of do that. That you kind of got. There's a lot going on, but what's great is it just sounds really good for.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of I can hear the
It's so clear on every spot.
Yeah.
Wow. That's why.
So
So
I can sit and just kind of go like, just listen to that. You can hear. Ooh, see what it did? See what that triggered? That's the low end.
Bring on Thunder God.
But I can already tell it's immediately singing. It's got that dynamic response. It's responding well, and you can dig in on them as well. So. I haven't played. Actually, when I just did that slap, I realised I still had the tone down and it still sounded good. You can kind of spank them as well. And it still responds, but it'll still go. It'll kind of just keep responding, and that's what I'm loving about them. They feel like they're giving.
Yeah.
And it's not just like you hit an end stop. With some basses they feel like they're self-compressing.
Yeah.
Especially through neck designs and certain things where the neck may feel too stiff. And sometimes you don't know what it is, I think, and it can be, it can be just because you've got used to playing a certain design of instrument, but there's a certain stiffness in the feel, and it just feels a bit hard, and you get to that point where the sweet spot, and every instrument has a sweet spot, but you can't really go much above that or below that.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to attack the bass in a certain way all of the time.
Yeah.
And that, that can be something that you think, right, I know how I've got to play that instrument. There's one way to play it. It sounds great with the plectrum if I play it like this, or it sounds great if I play it like that. But it might not suit the other things that you do.
Yeah.
And there's very little I haven't really found anything that I don't think these instruments can hold and can, they can sit in a ballad. They can sit when you're just wanting to just kind of play something and just let the note just kind of fill out the bar. But they can also really hold a 16th note driven thing or a rock thing. Just fantastic basses.
So there you go, Stenback basses.
And they do have that thing. They have actually caused me some of the gas, which I thought I'd managed to
you
remain
thought you were
gas-free.
yeah, but you were not.
Then I saw a picture of your bass, and that's what prompted this.
Sorry, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Long visits to the bathroom, you know.
Yeah.
What are you doing in there? I'm looking.
That is watching.